Okay, so we're going to start with a upper respiratory opener. So I want you to have a belt connected. So if you got a 8 to 10 foot belt, you're just going to connect it together so it's a little bit more supportive when you pull, a little thicker. You're going to put that behind you. Once you lie back, this will all make a little more sense, but you're going to put that, I just put it on top of the double blanket, right? I have 2 blankets folded up. You can use one and wad it up higher. You want it about as high as your bolster. I'd use a flat bolster for this one, not a round one. Have a block or a towel or a blanket here. If this is too firm for you, you can always have something that's about the same height. I wouldn't have it higher than the bolster, and I wouldn't have it too low because it would create too much compression. Okay, so you're going to lie back, and as you're lowering, it does feel like a little bit of abdominal efforting. You're going to work towards lengthening the front space. Okay. Now, there's some of us that are focusing on our upper back and our neck support. Now, I would go with what feels right in the beginning. So you want to kind of enter the the practice where you're comfortable. So if you take down one of the blankets, right, you push one aside, remember, don't bury your belt. Okay. But it might feel good, but it might feel too much in the beginning. Okay. So stay with what's easeful right now for the neck, and then take a sandbag and place it so the lower from the navel down towards the tops of the thighs is where the sand's going to go, right? It's not going to be higher up. We don't want it up at the upper chest area. Even in the respiratory workout, we're going to explore. So the legs can either stretch down. This might be too soon. They may stay pointed up, right? The knees, that is, or the knees could be pointed out. Even if you are feeling knee situation going on, you might just kind of play with how far do I go down to the block? This is why those of us that try to do an inversion while we do this isn't incorrect. It just might be a big workout for your respiratory muscles, like suddenly, right? Because now you're in a back bend and an inversion at the same time. So you're the decider. Soles of the feet together, knees apart, knees together, legs straight down. Okay. You want to make this comfortable for yourself, no one else, right? This should feel like, okay, I'm just centering into my bones, and I'm starting to let the vertebral column elongate and extend. And as you're here, before we use the yoga strap whatsoever, we're going to spread open the chest muscles into those rib span movements. So as I open up the chest, I can feel the rib span so well in this pose, right? In this horizontal chest opener, you can really feel and even want to explore, how can I feel more of the contour of my ribs? I don't walk around really feeling the contour of my ribs. I might feel the pelvis, but not the ribs. So this is your opportunity to kind of amplify and encourage that offering of utilizing opening up to make the breath even easier, and the ability to encourage supportive posture. So at this point, if you decide to get rid of one of your blankets, you might be surprised to just feel like you need this much support. So instead of looking maybe in a mirror or the screen to see, do I need that? Am I rounding my neck too much? I would say go with feeling, because you will see that it rounds a little bit. And if you're feeling, well, I could go back to one, and that feels good, and that's what you use. So letting your eyes relax into the brain, and just feeling the waves of the breath, and just brain waves also coming a little bit more established, uniting with the body mind, resting the jaw and the face. And finally, feel the shoulders. First, they relax and they're being pushed into by the prop. So you might notice, well, I can't relax them entirely. There's something that's pushing into them, such as a bolster. So I would say, I even visualize, even though I don't jump off any cliffs or anything ever, but like if you're kind of diving back, you're opening the chest. Like, what would you need to get that inner lift in the heart area? So there's this curve. So despite there being something under you, kind of create that arena of expansion in the heart and the lungs. And you can effort with the shoulders back. You could effort and then relax. That would be probably the best medley. Some word that is effort and relax. And I don't know what that is, but some blend of those two, a little bit of awareness into ease for feeling your body shape. Okay, now those of us that want to stay in this shape for another minute or so, you're welcome to stay. If you're just kind of arriving into it in your bones, then stay. And those of us that are ready to add on, we're going to walk the feet in if we haven't already, soles of the feet on the ground, knees pointing up, and we'll move the sandbag and we'll grab a hold of our strap overhead. And if this is comfortable enough, I would give yourself kind of really take the hands, slide them out on the belt so that you have a generous reach for not just the arms, but hopefully it corresponds to the chest. I mean, sometimes we effort so much when we get something, we just feel arm, we work the joints, but we're trying to work the muscles. They don't wear out quite as much as a joint. Okay. So we keep that openness of the chest. We let the abdominals move with the breath. We don't seize things up. If you slide back a little bit towards the bolster from the block, that's okay. Or you slide down, that's okay. Now start to move your legs into the hinging at the hips, one leg at a time, bending, hip, knee. Feel relaxation in the ankle when you lift your leg up. And then see if you could start to move, holding that strap and moving it towards your knee, only one knee at a time. We're not even going to consider, or even that wouldn't even be part of this. It'd just be one knee, not both at the same time. But give yourself that opportunity when you're moving the knee in and you're pulling, that maybe you move your hands out a little bit, or maybe you bring them in. Right? Some people bring the knee in and then get the belt towards the knee and bring the hands in a little closer, right? And just kind of feel what that's like. Not, I didn't go in very far. And then move the leg back down and then switch. So just a little bit longer. And you might, I kind of like this, put the strap a little bit below my knee, just kind of feel the response in my thigh muscles and my psoas, especially into the core span, with the back of the core, the posterior, and in the front. Okay, now let the arms reach back. I hope your belt's connected because we're going to need that. And now if you have multiple blankets stacked, you want to go down to one only under your head. And then we're going to slide the bolster down under the pelvis so it's not under the ribs so much. It could be under a couple ribs, but I tend to slide back and then push the bolster down so that it doesn't create more pressure in my neck. Okay, I don't mind and now I'm trying to find that arch. So I'm trying to get a feeling, even if I bring my feet a little further out, the knees pointing out, and then feel how you designate the touchdown of the sacrum and then outwards. And then again, maybe come upside down with one knee a little bit out, then the other knee a little bit out. So it's kind of a V shape, and then start to move the legs up. Now, first things first, you got to find your foundation with the bolster. So my tailbone's at the edge, my legs extend up, and my ribs are still open. from the previous pose. It's a little more subtle. It's not exactly the same exuberance. uh, Rib exuberance isn't quite the same, but if I go from this into this stage, I want to settle for a few moments before I add any props. So arms are out to goalpost position. The back of the pelvis is centering. I found a position for my pelvis so it doesn't feel like there's crazy pressure. Okay, it is going towards my lumbar. So I'm going to have to be cautious and kind of feel, how do I feel where the roots of the legs are at the hips? So let's get a hold of our belt. And we're going to start with your choice. Okay, either scoop up your feet, let the legs go straight up and out, or you might have the legs straight up and hold the belt for a little bit longer, just to get that sacrum area, that base of the spine in a comfortable place. You might have to change things up. You might have to move your blanket back, move it in. Make sure you're comfy in your upper back area, because we're actually adding a little bit of touch into it. And then we're going to orient into all kinds of arm reaches and back reaches. But for now, we're just simply loading the bones. Bones are loading up. Okay, the weight of my thighs onto my hips. So I'm going to move my legs to a wider reach. And I kind of love that perspective. My legs are reaching. Usually I think of that with my arms all the time. And my feet don't, probably, I don't think of that with my feet very often unless I'm trying to get something with my foot, which is, a little bit less likely than my hands. So when I push the legs out, find the distancing that's comfortable for you. Your knees are going to soften. You're going to be draining out the legs a bit. You're going to feel the proper amount of arch for you. So to me, I need a bit of that arch. I need that definition in the circulation to abdominals. But it does take you some practice. Maybe you kind of slide a little back on the bolster. Maybe you find, oh, that's too much or too little. Make sure this pelvis support is good. Arms are out. If you need to hold your belt or it just feels better, sometimes this feels better for me. And even if you've lived in your body for a while and done this class before, you want to figure out right now, what do you need? If you don't need to grip up in the arms at all, you might have to move your arms open. So you're relaxing the shoulders. So centering the breath. Feel the abdomen expand a little bit, just filling it up like a balloon. Same idea. And then as you soften in the belly, feel the back of the pelvis. Feel the core awareness with the legs putting all their weight into it, right? So the diaphragm, there's all these muscular actions occurring with the resistance of your legs in this position, right? It's not the same when you stand up or you sit, right? So it is quite a bit of efforting right now in the core. So it could be shaky, and it might not be. So that doesn't mean if it's not shaking that you need to effort more and push the legs out at all. Just finding that stability and that meditative quality. Abdominal motion, just the right amount to feel the pressure in the kidneys as well. So if I fill up, so I can massage into that low back waistline. Now bending your knees, reach up. You got to use your hands for this part, huh? And then grab a hold of your yoga strap and then pull, and not going too fast, although you may already be back together again. Put yourself back together again. And then with the feet together, feel the movement if possible from the bigger leg parts. Okay. Sometimes I focus because I'm looking at my feet. So it's like somehow I'm orienting them to do all the movement. But when I take the left foot out and I'm going into brain float, I'm going to lower down the left leg and then get my sandbag on the top of that left thigh if I have one. And so as I place the weight on the left thigh, right, I want to think thigh, but I personally like it up on the top of the thigh to the hip as well. I'm going to hold, and options are many. One option is to hold the belt and reach overhead so the palms would be together and the belts are between the webbing of the thumb and the index finger. I kind of like that one. All right. And you could stay with that for, maybe 30 seconds to a minute, and then maybe add the belt to the back of your skull. Now, how intense that's going to be is really individual. So I tend to find, as I tug on the belt, sometimes I do this correctly and have it so I can pull it down to make it a little bit more snug or less. But you want to start with plenty, like a big enough loop so you don't even have to feel that it's pressure too much on your leg as well as at the other side. So the limbic brain, your other limb, is getting a little bit of sensation as well. Okay. But you can bring your arms open. You can find that traction in multiple places right now. Okay, legs and all, right? Legs, core is the foundation. And then if you're noticing so much on one area, like it's really amplified in your leg, could be you haven't done this pose for a long time. That's one reason, right? But if you don't want to put the belt behind your head, that's okay. You can hold it and bring it overhead. So if you're starting in this and it just feels a little uncertain, the right leg, I want to keep the heel reaching away, but there's moments I let it relax. So I can fully feel the traction in my neck. And let your head lower back, even if it touches the blanket. So now I found myself in the pose fully, right? I've got my head touching my blanket and still there's traction in the neck. Okay, take a few more breaths. If the leg is shaking, again, you can take the belt off and hold it with the hands. You could loosen it up. You probably don't want to make it any tighter though. And then to keep the knee with a slight bend. Okay, now we're going to switch sides. So you can slide the sand off. I find what's easiest for me is to place it at my rib cage. And then carefully, hands at the back of my head or holding my belt, you can shift the leg that's up. And then you're lowering that right leg down. Now, one side, this side for me feels like this is too tight. My leg is not appreciating that intensity. So I might have to loosen it up. And then, but I would suggest to put your sandbag on before you make that ultimate decision because it makes a difference. Right? Just getting that quad reaching. Well, you probably don't feel like your quad can energize very well right in this moment, but that reach of the psoas and the quad affects pelvis, hip, leg. Everything affects everything, right? So once the leg is lifted and you've decided, oh, okay, I'm going to loosen this up. This side's a little different because I want my head to relax back on my blanket. That's what I prefer. And it might take a little time for my hamstring to kind of let go. So go deeply into sourcing what works for you in the moment. Maybe you tighten up the belt again, maybe you don't, but make this be all for you. Like how do I get this balanced out? Okay, the knee needs to bend a little bit. Both knees are bending slightly. And the arms can stretch out. You might lower them down a little bit if it's feeling like it's tightening your arms. You might guide them downwards. And you might let your chin lift a little bit and your head lower down. Now, some of us do not like to do brain float. We like to do leg float. So we might bring our hands together, palms touching. I would try them all regardless. I like how this feels in the lungs. When I breathe, I can feel higher up in my breathing, my breathing apparatus versus just the ribs. Okay, now last few moments here. Okay, now we're going to bend that left knee, take the sand, slide it aside, reach for the belt with your right hand, and it's off your head now, right? So it's not behind your head anymore. Please do not cross your leg over with the belt behind your head. And then pull with your right hand. So your left arm could stretch open. You can roll your head a little to the left. Be careful though, right? You might notice the soft tissue at the neck. It could be a little challenged after the brain float. So I would let your head roll a little side to side. Just kind of nourish those tissues, or you can let them rest straight back. But keep the left elbow out. Feel the ribs open. Let the bottom leg bend. That seems to be the signature support that you forget about on this one is the bottom leg. I know they're both at the bottom, but the one on the floor. Okay. Bend the left knee, come back center, right foot into the belt, switcheroo, and then cross it over. And notice from pelvis right to pelvis left. Okay. How do you coordinate out of the rim of the hip here? Think about the contours and the curves in the body. But you don't have to overdo it. Sometimes if you're kind of in the middle of it, you're focusing on the curve and the contour versus kind of pushing in the leg, like pushing out of the hip and making it more jarring. So I feel like I'm starting to learn that versus holding the belt and then pointing the leg, right? I'm trying to work from my pelvis, especially since it's a twist, right? You've got to be careful. Okay. But you want the vertebral column to be supported, right? You want to open out through the right arm. And I find on this side, well, my head turns a little bit easy. It's just so much easier. So learn something about yourself. Like maybe it's because your knee is bending more. Maybe it's something else in the chain going up. Maybe it's just that one side you have a little more challenge in other zones of the neck or the jaw. Who knows? Right jaw, left jaw. Oh, geez, we could get kind of analytical here, but just feeling where you're resting back, bending your right knee and your left knee, but mostly that right leg has to do a little more bending than you think. Don't think about it. Feel it. Okay, now bending that right knee a little more to bring it back in center. Take your belt off your foot. Bring your right foot to your left knee. Knee is open. Right knee is open. So we're in figure four, reclining figure four. This is basically pigeon pose, but a little easier on the knee, huh? So your choice is here or pull the leg in. But the leg package is not just a leg, it's two with this complex situation, right? So my right foot's to my left knee. opening. Now, I sometimes have to push down to my elbows to get the leg to draw in, but this might be too much for a back. It might be a lot for some of us. So you have complete choice on this. And you can rock a little side to side. It's kind of nice to have the bolster under your back because it's just softer than the floor for the tailbone. So as you go across, go slow, nothing rapid, maybe nothing with movement for you as well. Classically, we teach this: grab a hold of the back of the leg. We call it thread the needle, and then we just stay for up to about a minute, 1 to 2. Now, if you're pretty comfortable with your back in this angle with your knees in, you could change it from here, right? You could change the crossing with your feet off the floor. Okay. If you have the foot down, you prefer that, you can come down, uncross, let the left foot go over to the right knee, and knee is relaxing open. I like to do contrast, kind of compare and just kind of feel. Notice if it's about the same, but it doesn't feel the same in some parts. So as I move my knees in, I think this is a good coordination activity. Also for pelvic floor, when I try to move the legs in, and then as I hold the back of the right thigh, notice even back muscles that you're utilizing, you're recruiting just to get here. And so when I'm here and I'm pulling, to be careful about the pushing of my knee, right? So, use your arms. Arms are for hugging your leg right now. And if you don't want to hug your leg, it's okay. Okay, now see if you can find where your ball went. Okay. And you're going to uncross the left leg and place the ball between the knees, and then the knees are going to go side to side. Okay, so as you go side to side, you could move the knees a little bit away, a little bit closer in. You can make circles. Since there's been a lot, we've been on inversion for quite some time, so good for us. All right, so knees go side to side. We might not do 30-minute headstands in here, but we do long inversions. So we're getting that circulation for the vascular, lymphatic systems just by getting upside down. Okay, so now as your knees go side to side, let the hips lift. So it's not like when I go to the side, I keep this hip kind of glued to the bolster. I let it kick up. Okay. This is gonna be where we kind of balance into the abdominal theme as we go sideominals next. Sideominals are extending neck. So we use this as an extension of abdominals when we come into the side sage. So going to the left, I find I like to kind of push that block a little bit so I don't land on it, but I would just take the ball out and roll to your left and come on up. And it might require you to lean into your bolster a little bit right now if you're kind of feeling like, okay, I've got to get stable in my lower back first. Okay, so block goes over to behind you to your blankets. Okay, so here's what we'll do. We'll put our block over on the other side of the blankets. I personally have been, I started using the block on both over and then besides my blankets to the side. I'm using both of those now with the side sage. Now, when you're leaning in, I'm going to give the option to roll the ribs. Some of us do not care for that, so that's fine. But some will mention, why haven't we done that for a while? Okay, so I'm going to have my sandbag nearby. I'm going to stack my legs so the knees are bending, right? So it's like it's fetal position. And then the ball is at the left rib cage. Lean in. Now, if you don't want to do any rib rollout, you know what? You got to go right into the side sage. You go for it. But getting some circulation in the breathing muscles, especially with touch, is good, right? Breathing is one way, okay? You're going to breathe to get that breath to sweep the lungs. That's what I like to say. But there's something else about touching into the skin here on that layer to get that visceral motion. So I'm going to open out through the chest. I have my left elbow on the floor, and I'm just taking these small turns. Now, if you don't want to, if it feels like, oh, this is too much on my neck, maybe you keep your arm by the side. I don't want you to pull your neck, though. I don't want your hand on your head and pulling your neck. So try to keep it so your arm sometimes moving is supporting your neck, actually, right? So if I have my arm down, it feels like it pulls my neck personally. Okay, so take a few more motions. Remember, it's like maybe an inch that you're rolling on the ribs. It's not very much, but it amplifies, it vibrates through them, right? Just that bit of touch. Now take the ball, lean down. So now you don't have a ball under your ribs. Okay. The option now would be to put the ball below your right inner knee area, not on the top of the knee, but the leg is on its side as well. It's side everything, isn't it? It's side body long. Sand on the right hip, and then we'll take a moment to reach the right arm over. Now, here's where I find the blanket is so important for my upper back and neck support. So I tend to lean on the back of my parietal bone. So I'm on the side of my skull. And some people roll all the way to the occiput area. Some people go all the way this way. So I would say be a little curious about that. Do you stretch your arm overhead and just say, that's it? Here I am. I'm going to stay in my shape. There's something to be said for that pure focus of getting into the shape and landing. Okay. So that's okay. But if you want to keep some movement, that's fine too. But if there's just some kind of gunk in your upper back and the shoulder movement is useful, and your head is supported by the blankets. And notice when you land in more of a stillness, which I think landing is kind of like that, right? You land, you have a moment of stillness. Feel if you can get your waist to lengthen out, to kind of loosen up from the waist down to your hip. And this might mean you have to move your right arm over to the left side. So if you're looking over, it would be besides your blanket, maybe on a low block. And maybe you prefer the arm overhead. That's okay. So take a few moments here. And don't give a time on it, like, okay, we got another minute and then we're out. But see if you can actually be in the practice. I think of it as a timeless practice. I know we all have schedules, but sometimes it takes as long as it takes. So extend, and then maybe you can let your head relax. Breathing. Now, the final few moments, be sure your right arm and the shoulder is okay. So if it's really kind of feels like it's a lot of tightness in the joint, which is natural, right? It's like saran wrapped. It's just really pulling. Find a place where the arm is relaxed. Maybe bring it down to your blankets, floor, bolster, block next to your blankets, not overhead. And just feel how that starts to move you into a little more suppleness in the rib cage so we can actually create a nourishing twist out of this. Okay, so if you have a sandbag on your hip, you're just going to push that back. And then you could push the ball away. I don't use it on the twist, so I'm just going to nudge it away. Some people like the ball between the knees. when they do the twist. So, it's nearby. Hopefully, it didn't roll too far away. But when you take the turn, I'll show the old school classic sleeping sage. I have been doing the one with the block, and of course the blanket's always on the top under my head, but I have sometimes had the blanket here. So you decide if you've started to, really appreciate the blanket on the hip, under the left hip on this one, and under the rib cage. I would say keep taking that. But there's something to be said for the kind of original version of this. But again, go back to if you have the blanket under your hip, use that. Now, as we take the turn, the ball could be center of the knees. Yeah. And if I lean into it, yeah, I feel like I appreciate the reach of the leg back a little bit. So it's like I'm taking this twisted upward facing dog approach. It's kind of nice. And then as I lean in, I can let that right side of the waist relax by moving my arms to a position that's comfortable for me. So it might be the arms are open, it might be that arms reach under the bolster. This is where I like it when the block is under the bolster, because then, and this is only if it feels so cozy to hug your bolster, right? You don't want it too high. You don't want this so high up, then it'll cause a little bit of a crick in your neck and it won't feel good, and you'll have neck crickets. So you want to have your head turned unless this doesn't feel right. If it's not right, forehead down. Just be careful that there's enough support under your forehead that you're not smushing your nose. Okay. And the head pushes a lot on this. So you might go, well, that's a pretty high blanket fold, but it can push quite a bit more than you probably think. There's a lot of pressure. It will flatten the blanket. Okay, don't underestimate the strength of your skull, the neck, and all this movement, right? So for some of us, forehead down, the strength of your upper. For some of us, head turns. And this to me feels just perfect, right? I've got my blanket just a little bit high, right on the corner of the parietal bone, just right up here. My head is turned, so it takes a little bit of work to get the blanket right. Just like when you're trying to sleep, just has to get it just right. So stretch the ribs with the breath. Feel a little bit of expansion. And from exhalation, relax. Okay, now as we begin to put a little bit more of our weight down, there's probably some parts of you that you're resisting letting go. Okay, now when you begin to come out of this, you're going to find the awareness in the left hip. It's almost like you kind of roll a little bit into the side of that thigh bone and stack the right thigh on the left, and then bring your hands under, and then feel where the elbows are by the sides, right? You can't really feel them with your hands, but you can notice, oh, they point out. So when I roll my shoulders back and I come up, I don't know if you ever tried that, but when you come up, try to roll your shoulders back and then up. Okay, come to hands, knees. If this is too difficult on your knee, you can put a blanket under, and I would put it far back on the knee so that the knee is kind of over the blanket. It might feel a little bit more comfortable that way. Okay, so you're going to turn your bolster on top of your blanket, one or two of them. If you have two, I would use them both. And then as you're reaching, you need something under your forehead here. It's got to be something. It could be a blanket. This is the perfect probably height for me. I make it a little bit higher. Let's see. So my forehead goes down, and that feels pretty good. I might touch around the neck and see if it's tightening up or if it's a little bit more calm and just extending. So keep the ribs reaching, keep the upper back. Now slide the hands out to the edges of your bolster, to the very far corners, bolster corners. Okay, use your bolster as a companion piece here. So it's helping you extend and stretch open. Okay, now when we come down, hands under, you're going to hollow through the core. So you're going to curl. So the back of the pelvis it's a pretty big piece, right? That you're trying to operate. So use the pieces above. I don't know about you, but I don't really think about my thighs and my leg muscles creating cat cow. But you are kind of rolling. The femurs are moving in, you're rolling into them. So feel that midsection movement, arching and flexing. So feel what it's like to let your head move, right? Feel your neck. Feel the opportunity to push into your arms. Now, remember the last time, a few moments ago, I had us like this and we rolled the shoulders and then came up. So you could try a little bit of that here, rolling, extending. Okay, and you might just feel like I'm just done with that. So toes under. If you're near a wall, yay. Okay, don't let your hands be too close into your knees because it would be, you might fall over and take a little somersault. That happens. So lift up, happens to the best of us. Now, those of us with a little bit of upper pressure, now sometimes we strengthen it, right? It's not like that's a bad idea. So I would recommend take the time. If it's too much pressure in your arms, I want you to come back, take that forward fold for a few moments, bend your knees, okay? But don't hang, okay? Bring your hands maybe up to the shins. Make sure you're not pushing too much into the wall. Arch through the spine. Okay, and bring your hands above the knees and start to come up by stacking from an arch spine. And then as I put my hands on the thigh lids, I'm going to use a wall space. Now find a wall wherever you are. I'm sure there's a wall somewhere. Bring your hands to the wall. I know some of you practice right in the middle of your space and you don't purposely use a wall, but if you have a chair nearby or a tabletop or something that you can push directly into, hopefully something that won't slide across the room. But your hands, this we call this the L shape. So my knees bending, my hips reaching back. Do not walk up the wall. This is a no, big X. We don't go this and then we kind of drag our spine. We're bending our knees and we're pushing into both our feet and our hands and extending the middle stuff, right? No floppy disks. So extend thy spine. Okay. Now stay near that wall. We're going to do a arm clock. So we're going to get to the wall, and I think you can see just parts of me on this one, huh? All right, I'll tilt it up. We'll see how this works later. Okay, so right arm back and stretch out the chest. Reason being, we work the upper back so much to relieve stress in there, but it's this stuff that we need to relieve as well as the chest, the pecs. So my right arm reaches back. Don't get too close to the wall. Stretch a little bit away, and you can get close if you like. So I bring my right arm down and back, open up through the chest, feet together if possible, and feel that you turn away from the wall. So abdominally, don't get too strict about it. I mean, you still want your abdomen to move, but there might be, you got to find just the right amount of this so it's not so tingly in your arm, right? And it might be. So You might feel that peripheral sense, but feel where you're open up through the chest. Maybe you don't walk too far away from it. Maybe you get a little bit feet right next to it. I have to be careful with this one. I want to feel circulation. Okay. Now, you don't have to pledge allegiance or anything, but you might find that the hand to the upper rib is really interesting. Just a little bit of application of awareness. You might turn your head to the away from the wall. Just turn your head away from the wall. Oof. Okay, and then relax that arm. I think you can figure out what arm goes next. You might roll your shoulders back a few times. You might let your head tilt side to side and just feel that difference, right? And then go to side two. So try to really embody that. And I know sometimes I'm trying to kind of unlearn some of the things I've learned that were just, they didn't really help my achieving less tension. So I'm reaching back. Okay. So it's similar to this, right? Remember we used to hold a yoga strap. Maybe we should today. We'll do that. So we hold a strap, we reach back, but now it's just one side. And the feet together, I think is good. It's a good cue. But it's okay to have them apart, right? It's okay. The focus here really is my pecs, right? It's here. It's all the way here. And since the back is, we overly flex and we round and it's overstretched, then it's tight. It has all these, and so it's this area we're trying to open up. Whenever you ask in a massage, like this area hurts and they overwork it, it's always worse, right? If they work here, it's always better. So I don't know how we keep saying, but it's interesting, So it is always really interesting to me. This area is really important, right, to work on because it's short on us, especially another day in your body. Oh, sad truth, right? Okay, so I feel it a little different on this side. It's like if I turn my head, right? Oh, it's a lot easier, but I feel the chest more. I know the work to be done, huh? Or the undoing. It's the undoing. Okay, now when you come out of this one, I want you to grab your yoga strap. Okay. So cautiously, you're going to get back to your mat if you went over to the wall. Take your strap, make sure that it's just a really, really wide. I don't want you to make this so small of a hold. You want to hold on to it behind you so your palms face forward. This couldn't be more important, huh? Palms face forward. Now, yes, you still have to hold it. Okay. There is something about that. So if you feel like that gripping is causing you pressure in your neck, if it does, for some people it does, then you're going to make your belt, buckle it up, and you're going to make your loop so you don't have to grip the belt. Okay. So sometimes this is a good one. This is old school in Iyengar, right? We would do this. We would hold. It feels like, well, that feels a little bit, just assertive. Well, you know what? I'm not gripping with my hands. So it's pretty good. So feet about hips distance. You might wag your tail a little bit so you don't get too stiff in the hip here. Bend your knees. And then as you move your arms back, right? I'm going to go with this loop. It might be too wide of a loop for me, but so sometimes you think you need it really wide and then it jams you up. So you can again hold your belt. If you're like, well, that just feels too weird. Just hold on to it. That's fine too. The only thing is this. See how I did that? I got to palms. You got to be careful not twisting your hand. Okay. So now with the arms moving, my knees are bending, my arms reaching back and overhead, my head relaxing right now for a moment. Now feel what it's like to pull on the strap and move your head a little bit forward. Breathe and then exhale. Well, I guess that's part of breathing, isn't it? Okay. Now you're going to lower down the belt. Don't want you to lose all that good stuff you were getting into your arms. So Let them flap out a little bit. Flap your wings, the wings of the kidneys. Okay. And then as you kind of open up that space in the back, the kidney space, you're going to bring your arms reaching, hands reaching, and then walk your feet back and try to find a way to come down to hands, knees, just the littlest arch in your spine, and then come back to neutral and lean back. Be cautious here for knee stuff. Lean back and then take your bolster, okay, across your mat. Better tilt this down, huh? You can't see me now. Okay. Turn. So your right hip is down and the ball is under your right rib cage. Elbow down, legs stacked, and then rib roll. And it's not a whole lot of skin that you're moving into, right? Do you notice that it's just don't focus, don't force the full, like trying to spin around the ball or something. I don't know if that's possible, but so what I like, especially after that arm thing that we did, the arm clock, we call it shoulder clock, arm clock. When I have the ball here, I try to get it up a little higher and massage the area that I was just stretching. So we used to teach a breath practice where we would put this ball in the armpit and squeeze it to you'd hold it with the other hand, the wrist, and pull it, and then you would breathe and really massage in that area. It didn't really, I don't think people felt comfortable with it, so I kind of stopped it. But now I do this. But it's all kind of close, right? Just it just appears a little bit uh not so weird. So you get to choose. Good exercise to do to put that ball at the armpit and just hold the arms in and just breathe and just working on respiratory circulation, massage, right? That's kind of the key with the ball. Okay, now feel the movement. I even lean in right now. This feels good to kind of stretch out my spine, my waist. Do what feels good, right? Don't follow me, right? Find a way to use this as a foundation, like just a little bit of an outline to go with. And then take the ball under the left knee, have your bolster at your ribs, not the ball under your ribs, and then your blanket stack. Now, I already know better. I have to get my top blanket higher. Probably it'll be the same on each side, most likely. Okay, it's the same neck that I had on the first side, right? But it is the second angle. So I'm going to grab my blocks, I put them overhead and on the side there, and then I took my ball so it's under the left inner knee. I'm using my right foot to kind of maneuver it a little bit. It's important to get your head down pretty fast. So I wouldn't be holding it as much as I did there. It's probably not really worth any of that effort, doesn't help you in the long run. Now, with that sand on the outer left hip, remember, sand can go across and it can go lengthwise. Okay, now sometimes it falls off, right? So I really like this weight bearing on the breathing muscles. Some people just like it on their hip. Okay, it's good for that too, right? So that's feeling good. Go with what feels good. Kind of try to figure that out. I don't really know what feels good. I don't know if it does feel good. So when the arm reaches overhead, I'm trying to feel the right side of my body release into the bolster. And the left side, it feels a little tight. So I'm going to move the arm, get some motion, some counter motion. Some of us will put that left hand over on the block next to our blankets, right on the side, not overhead. And just feeling. And notice if you can relax your head. I caught myself there. I was holding. So that's why I think it really is a limb, right? You got your four limbs, but really it acts like tension, like an arm when it reaches the neck, the limbic brain. That whole thing is interesting. So try to just let your head relax. And just feeling where there's breath moving in the body. Enjoy all the places that you can actually feel that. There's times that's all you're going to get, right? Just that's something you can make happen on your own. Okay, now with this reach of my hip and my waist, I'm going to start to nudge the ball. For me, I like to go this way. I first get rid of that ball, and then I start taking the twist. So I'm going to turn. Now, I don't want to have a loaded twist. That's really important for our osteo collective here. So you don't want to load a bone when you're turning. So you're going to get that sandbag off. Okay. And then I'm going to turn and put my bolster up on top. I'm going to really use my hips, pelvis, ribs to create this rotation. I'm going to be kind of cautious. So I'm getting my blanket on the short end and with hands down, lean in. Okay. And feel. Now, some of us will have our left leg stacked on the right leg. Some are going to go, that just feels so much more comfy for my back or my hip. Or some of us need a blanket under our right hip. So as we're leaning in, we're going to try to work with this reach of the right side of the waist. And then as I turn my head, last side, I really did kind of fuss around a little bit with this blanket more than I normally do. So maybe forehead down, and then you turn your head to the left. Yeah. So you might even try kind of lengthening at the neck and then turning. I got to remember that when I sleep. Like that's kind of nice versus just push my neck that way. So forehead and then turn. Now that might not work for everybody. So if I turn my head and then I let my arms open, shoulders relaxing out of the back. Now slide the hands down. Think of this as in a little bit of tummy time. So when you turn, and then when we come out of this rotation, we're actually going to go to relaxing the abdominals from all this twisting and stretching. So we're going to work our back muscles. So we're going to turn onto our back. I would be careful, move your bolster down to the feet or the base of your mat. Have one blanket max here. Okay. So I'm going to scoot myself forward. I'm going to go cautiously back on my forearms and then lower down. Okay. My head is on my blanket. It's not very high up. Now this might be too high. You might find, well, this feels too rounded in my neck, or I just don't want a blanket for this. And that's fine. Plenty of people do bridge pose without a blanket under their head and end up happier than those that do have a blanket. I would try them both. Okay. So bring your knees in, place a ball between, and then feet on the bolster. Okay. Now, elbows are by the sides, kind of like robot arms, but not too close in, I suppose. So elbows a little bit out. Okay. And then just feel back of the pelvis, natural arch, abdominals after all that twist and abdominal energy that we were working through. You want to feel the abdominal organs feel more soothing and release here, an expansion after all that squeezing, soaking work. Okay. And then we're going to stretch them out. So feet down on bolster. You're going to lift your hips up, squeeze the ball with your leg muscles, squeeze the ball, squeeze the ball. Get up as far as you want to go that you still squeeze the ball. If you get a little tired of it and you just honestly are not squeezing the ball anymore, then just go back on down. Okay. So something I've been focusing on when I come up is just even touching at my lowest part of my spine and noticing if the muscles along that side are really tightening. I mean, they're going to tighten. You're going to use this as core work, but if it's not my glutes working, then I'm not doing it right. So squeeze the ball once you get the hips up, squeeze. Your thighs should be working, your inner thighs. And then as you lower down, you can relax the grip. Okay. Now, once you're onto your back, your hips are not up, squeeze the ball. Okay. Pelvis is down, squeeze the ball. And then let your arms reach overhead. I know now you can't grab the ball. Okay. So, all right. So relax the grip. Whew. Okay. Feel the back of the pelvis. Feel that it can actually rock. It can rock and roll. So now, as you go up, squeeze the ball. You're going to find just how many layers of the legs that you can use in the lift. Yeah, I sometimes find myself gripping my lower back. So I've got to go, okay, wait a minute here. Am I using my, and it's hard to feel the leg awareness because it's your spine that you're touching, right? Okay, now lower down. And as you land, squeeze the ball. Don't move the hips up, just squeeze like you're trying to pop that ball. All right, and then relax. The legs are like, ooh, a lot of energy going on with that. Okay, bring your knees to your chest, take the ball out, and I want you to lift the hips up and roll the ball under the back of your pelvis and rest all your weight on it. That feels nice. And then the hips go side to side. You can move your elbows out to the sides, your arms out. You can keep them back to goalpost position or back overhead, but wag your tail and get a feeling of a little bit of that pacing of movement that you're swiveling your hips. So it's like a bowl. I got to find a better analogy than this, but it's rocking. It's not like windshield. It's not like typewriter movement. You are kind of pushing into it and moving across and up. Okay. It's like a basin that's moving and lifting, tipping down and rolling. So basically you're rolling that fascial pull and tug on the connective tissue right around the sacrum and beyond. That's the class name, is Sacrum and Beyond. Okay. So now by this time in class, you get a little silly. Put the ball to the right rear and roll across. And all you have to do is set some time aside to just embody and breathe and do a little bit of movements, and you might feel better. It probably has a possibility you could feel better. So move the hips side to side and feel when you're pressing into the ball, the texture. Right, it's going to be clear right on the border, right between the glute muscles, because they all kind of weave together into the hip and then beyond. Just feeling that you glide past the point where it's really nerve rich, right? It's like right at the joint, right? So roll across it if that's possible. Okay. And this is good to do at the upper back. It's really tricky to do from the blade of the shoulder into the arm. You can tell that the hip, it's a lot easier to roll through. This upper part is a little bit different, isn't it? You don't have a pelvis up here, but you got some interesting joint structure. So you can play with this ball maybe at the wall, right? If you roll across the upper back, I would say. And you can play with it on your back too. Okay, now as you come down off the right side, you're just going to go to the left side. Final spinal, we're in here. So put the ball under that left side and move up on it and try to work with gliding versus tightening your glute. We were just doing that. We already did the glute strength energy. Now we're massaging it. Okay, hips side to side. Take your time. There's no rush. If you need to rush on out, then I would say I would do more rolling and then maybe a little relaxation and then move along versus a stretch because I think the rolling's really good for the lymph system. Okay, so we're feeling that pressure and movement on the skin. Your leg could lift. You could go back to that figure four. You could have both feet down. I'm just going to stay with the school of my feet on the bolster for now because they help you steer. Yeah, feet are kind of cool. All right. So as I go across, this next time I'm going to lean into my right hip, then take the bolster and carefully, I don't want to overexert here in my legs. I'm going to kind of use my feet to help me maneuver it to the right side. And then my hand can definitely push it over besides my mat. So it could be on your mat actually. But the left leg is going to swing over. So you have this contour. It's not that different than we did side sage, right? If you kind of think about these leg angles, it's just that the leg that's reaching is the top leg now, not the bottom leg, which was pulling you up there. So use that ball at the back of the pelvis. And I would recommend a sandbag if you have one, place it on the outer left hip. It's never required, but it can be nice grounding. And this can make the difference at the end of class, having some sand on you to ground you for these last few poses. Okay. Abdominally, there's a lot of work going on in here, right? So if it's too much work for you, like it's nauseating, then back off, right? You can have the bolster between the knees. You can roll your head to the right and not have the left arm open. Okay, so you're the decider. Now, with the arm open, another thing I've done before, right, for upper back, I would take the ball and place it to my left upper side of my back and shoulder and just kind of massage that area. That's another good one. If you have a smaller ball like a tennis ball, that can work really good there. And then opening out the front space. See if you can relax any parts, right? Maybe the upper inner leg, maybe the hip. Now, before you come out of this side, maybe let your head nod a little bit, just the right amount. Feel the back of the skull. Nice work on this side. So we have accomplished one side. We got one more to go. So take the time to move the sand and the ball. And then your movements are uniting, right? That side now to the middle. So you're kind of going back to united pelvis. It was united the whole time, but back to the united pelvis, back of the pelvis centered. Take your bolster to side two. Okay. And now as you make that crossover, push your hips to the right, bend the left knee, swing the right leg over to the bolster. Okay. Ball at the back of the pelvis, sand on the outer right thigh, totally an option, not required. You might have to land in it and decide where on the hip are you going to place this, right? Probably getting it on there first in the middle, and then maybe you go a little to the knee. That always feels good for me, even though I have knee stuff, but it just feels good. If I go too close to the hip, it feels like it pulls my back, and some people would feel the opposite. So, find what works for you. Let the right arm open, let the head turn to the right, and breathe. And now right arm draws back in, move your sand. If you're going to go to legs up the wall, just carefully push it towards the wall with ease. Don't try to hold the sandbag, just nudge it. Take the ball aside. And then we're going to come into our final shape, which could be bolster bend. So legs up the bolster on two blocks, right? Put two blocks under the bolster or take your bolster to the wall. If this is too much exertion on your back muscles, right? Because it's going to bring quite a bit of back strength work. It's kind of like a tummy time on its own. You can put just a blanket, just fold a blanket instead of your bolster to go up. I would recommend to have a blanket on you, okay? And an eye pillow if you have one. So come on over to the support of your props that you're going to use at the end, whether you're on your back and you put your legs up on your bolster bench or your bolster's under your pelvis. It's either going to be under your calves or your pelvis. And you're going to roll on the sacrum to basically get those legs to lift. And yeah, take it easy. This one is a curious balance, I find. Having that idea that you have to have your legs uh, completely touching the wall is, I think, kind of silly. Some of us, it naturally might happen, but it's kind of unusual, and it's not even going to make things better. So, the idea would be I have a little gap between my legs but it's about feeling for me. So I'm feeling that kind of waterfall pose, right? The reverse flow. I'm even going to pull my bolster a little bit higher under my pelvis. That feels just right. Okay. So the pelvis knows. All right. And then taking your sand on either, if you are on your back with your bolster under your calves, you can put it on your shins. But if you're at the wall, you can't really put your sandbag on your shins very well. I've experienced, but it goes to your feet. And then if you have an eye pillow, you'll grab that. You might first put a blanket. You might kind of almost swaddle yourself a little bit with the blanket. You might unfold it so it's a little bit wider than I have. And that way you can have a little bit of touch around you, which is pretty nice to have. It's nourishing on its very own, isn't it? So head relaxes back, chest gently open, and just scanning where you can make any changes, whether you need to remove your blanket, if it's too bulky under your head, and then feeling that you can relax your facial muscles, especially the jaw. So if you're not talking, that'll be easier. So as you feel the exhalation, let the jaw relax, the teeth, the palate. You just feel the weight of your body, and that you can actually feel its weight. Letting your eyes rest, soften your complexion around the eyes, the forehead. And now, once you slow down enough, you will notice quite an inner verse, right, going along, like the inner verse of the heart, the digestive tract, and almost like it kind of wakes up. Like you can feel some of those things. So see if you can just use the breath to calm, slowing down, and receiving the practice. And now start to shift your feet away from the wall. If your legs are up on the bolster bench, then you might circle the ankles a little bit. That might feel good. Ankle mobility, circle the feet, ankle movement, kind of pumping the motion into the calves that way. Feels good to do that. Now, if I take the sand off, then I can do that. But I find when I'm in an inversion, I'm not as jazzed to do a bunch of ankle movement because there's all this circulation shift by having my legs up, right? A little bit. They both do that, right? Legs up on the bolster, just as much as legs up on the wall. But you know, it might feel better just to have your legs relax after having the sand on the feet. Now, when you begin to guide yourself into shifting out of this whole stage, right? Give it some time. It's not like you want to rush it because when you come up and if you have that blood pressure shift, it's kind of discombobulating. So you don't want to let the practice get kind of feel like it was just a little bit tiring at the end. So bring the knees in, hug the back of your thighs, rock on the sides of the back of the pelvis. Not too much, not too little. Just learning about your self care. And then as you roll to the side, when you're on the at the wall, it's a little tricky how to merge from. So some people slide off of the bolster and then come up. I like that technique. I haven't done that in a long time. I tend to roll, but if you're feeling like, well, that's kind of not too great on my back, in other ways, you push your blanket back and you slide back this way. This is a good way to go. Then you feel just like those of you that are in bolster bench, then you go over and it's even. Okay. Sometimes I remember that, most of the time I don't. Okay, come on up. We have our ways of practicing. All right, so we sit to the bolster. If you're on the bolster bench, it's pretty fun to sit up on the bolster on the blocks. It's a fun way to sit and roll the shoulders back and guide the muscles of the chest. So again, come back here, let the shoulders move back. Try to widen at the chest a little bit. Don't get small here. Take up space here. And then let's bring our hands up towards our heart space. It can be in the heart space touching, it can be in front. I like touching the heart space. And then as we unite our breath, let's consider each other receiving wellness to ourselves, and much more